Welcome back, everyone. I'm Winter, and you might have seen my video on the future of StarCraft 2 in 2020, which I made after the WCS Finals, the StarCraft 2 Community Summit, and overall, and I think reasonably so, had a relatively pessimistic view on the options. To summarize what I said, I was pretty disappointed with the WCS Finals being a single day at BlizzCon and making it very hard for people to follow. Was not optimistic about the prospects of StarCraft Esports too far into the future. I didn't think the rug was gonna be pulled out from under it, but as well as just continued support for StarCraft still existing, but not being a priority for Blizzard. And to be honest, it's not going to be, because somebody else has taken that up. So first, before I get into it, and probably why you're watching this and why you came here, I want to talk about all the other things first. StarCraft 2 still makes money between co-op commanders, co-op being a consistently incredibly popular mode, and support being given to it, and rebalancing to make sure commanders are exciting, and mutators and Brutal Plus as well. And other parts of the game, arcade is seeing, a whole lot of popularity, in the Korean scene, things like Star Chess. There's still plenty on the arcade, of course. And StarCraft 2, as if you don't know yet, it's free to play. You can play multiplayer arcade. The only thing you got to pay for are if you want those amazing war chests and skins, which support esports, or if you want co-op commanders and things like that past a certain level. As well as you can play Wings of Liberty for free, but the Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void campaigns. But the big, for myself, and I play multiplayer probably 80% of the time, for professional players, for fans, for content creators, there has been, for the last several years, I think pretty much since a couple years after Legacy of the Void came out, at the end of the year, with WCS ending, there's so what's going to happen next year? And 2019 was not a great time for Blizzard as a company for many reasons. And with that, StarCraft 2 wasn't seeing much love. There was the recancellation of StarCraft Ghost, which, why did you even have to tell us it was in development? Just to... there was, the WCS Finals being very underwhelming. But thankfully, there are many other parts and organizations involved in StarCraft 2, between Home Story Cup 20 being a resounding success in so many ways, Take TV doing a great job, and of course, there are the people who put on those WCS events. Those would be ESL, the Electronic Sports League, and DreamHack. So, with that, the exciting future of StarCraft 2 esports. For almost 10 years, StarCraft 2 Esports has stood as the epitome of competition and community in the esports world. We are excited to share with you the next era of StarCraft 2 Esports. ESL and Dreamhack, together with Blizzard, will establish a brand new competitive circuit for the next 3 years of StarCraft 2 Esports. So, what's the summary? WCS is over. WCS is done. WCS will no longer exist. Dark will be the final champion after 7 years. But to replace WCS, we are excited to announce the ESL Pro Tour StarCraft 2 and the DreamHack SC2 Masters. The two will combine to create a new SC2 esports circuit moving forward. ESL and DreamHack have been a trusted vendor for Blizzard esports, particularly StarCraft, for many years. This is very true. The ecosystem will feature 6 international tournaments a year. Compare that with 3 international tournaments for WCS last year, plus IM Katowice, and 4 the year before that. 4 with DreamHack and 2 with ESL. As well as, and this is one of my favorite parts, weekly competitions, which are each region gets their own, that will feed into the ESL events. We know that the StarCraft community enjoys meeting up at our esports competitions in person, so this deal will give you more opportunities to enjoy the excitement of StarCraft 2 in person. So here's the key. So a few things before we go further. More LAN events. A weekly kind of regular season style tournament. That means like the way it works right now has been for WCS, or the way it's worked for WCS has been a pretty convoluted process for those at the higher level. There are a few ways. Either you get in via being high in the Grandmaster ladder at a certain time, which created some drama, but there's no way to see those games, and it kind of confusing to figure out what's going on. And then there was also a set of qualifiers where if you didn't play very well in a day or two, well, guess what? No WCS for you. A weekly tournament. So all those players who aren't qualifying, maybe because they're not they're not Serral, they're not Raynor, they're not Neeb, they have a chance to prove that they're not just ladder heroes, but also can play in competitions as well. We're going to go into more detail. But the global finals will shift to the new IM Katowice World Championship in 2021, so next year. This means SC2 Esports at BlizzCon will look different, but it will still be there. So I'm not sure what this means for the championship of 2020, if 2020 leads into 2021. The WCS championship will no longer, like the world championship, crowning the world champion will no longer be at BlizzCon, which is a change after 10 years. This will be year 10 of StarCraft 2, for those of you who want to feel a little older. I definitely do. We are actively working to finalize our Korea plans for 2020 and beyond. We are committed to StarCraft 2 esports in Korea. You might have been thinking, like, what's happening there? So, you might be like, oh no, what's happening in GSL, all of that. So, the Africa streaming company just signed several StarCraft 2 players, like in the off-season, of StarCraft 2. That's the company who sponsors GSL. They just picked up top-tier new SC2 players. I don't have any other information, but I know they did. So, I wouldn't expect, with this, I would not expect bad news out of Korea. The StarCraft 2 competitive community is one of a kind, is passionate, creative, loyal, and have always been and will always remain important to Blizzard. We want to ensure that your home is secure for as long as possible, and relationships like this one at DreamHack and ESL, what we need to make that happen. What is Blizzard's role? Money. Blizzard's role is money. They will be providing $1.2 million each year, which is slightly less, I believe, than most of the WCS prize pools, but still a significant portion. And in this year, 2020 to 2021, $1.9 million because of the 10-year anniversary of StarCraft 2. So the summary is money, broadcast, and social. What's missing here? War chest information, and other things. But this is an announcement. So before I go into detail, I have a video. ESL has a video here on how it's all going to work. You can see... Oh, you know what? First, before I get into details, I didn't actually see where the events were and which ones I'm probably going to go to. That'll be me looking at that for the first time. This is incredible. With the information and admittedly little information I had, and I tried not to overstate, but the general gist of what I said in my original video and how I felt after the year was, I don't know, we'll probably have like WCS, but maybe a little, like 1 or 2 less events, maybe a little less prize. The fact that, let's think about it this way, like 3 years. This isn't just next year. This is the year after that and the year after that. If you are a company or a player who's thinking about, how do I get is it worth my time and money and effort to invest in StarCraft 2, whether it is that time or money? And every year it's like, well, will there be a StarCraft 2 next year? Well, the answer is now yes. And the year after that, and the year after that. So, this is not only huge for just current players, but also aspiring players, fans who, let's be honest, there's the insecurity. You see it every day in Twitch chat, in your silly Discord servers and Reddit comments and YouTube comments. Is StarCraft 2 dead yet? Well, what is dead may never die. They said we were dead in 2012 when people for some reason watched League of Legends. They said it in 2014 when Heart of the Swarm was admittedly not the greatest meta and wasn't incredibly exciting. And then a few years after Legacy of the Void comes out, it's like, what else is there? Is there people still going to play this game? It's 2020, and for the next 3 years, there will be professional StarCraft 2, major LAN events, weekly tournaments throughout the year. But wait, there's more. The ESL Pro Tour. Let's watch the video first. It does kind of explain it here. And by kind of, I mean definitely does.
Introducing the ESL Pro Tour for Starcraft, the place that combines the legacies of ESL, Dreamhack, and WCS tournaments. Starting with its first season, it will offer over $1.8 million across the tour, and it will crown the official StarCraft 2 World Champion. The ESL Pro Tour launches in 2020. It will consist of 6 Masters tournaments, all of which will offer prize money and ranking points that will determine who plays for the title of World Champion at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2021. The championship event will be a week-long, 36-player tournament with Masters events winners and highly ranked ESL Pro Tour players,
36
as well as
players.
league winners and highly ranked players from Korea. The tournament will be bolstered by a 16-slot play-in stage featuring the next best-ranked players from the ESL Pro Tour and Korea. This change makes it the largest ever playing field for a StarCraft 2 World Championship title.
By 20
You do
players,
not need to be a sponsored player to get involved. Each Masters tournament will have online qualifiers for free travel and accommodation, and aspiring players and semi-pros will play for prize money in weekly ESL Open Cups. The ESL Pro Tour. $1.8 million in prize money, 156 ESL Open Cups, 6 Masters tournaments, 1 Masters Championship. The new home for StarCraft 2 Esports.
That's just for this next year, by the way. 156 cups is 52 for each region, and then there are 3 regions, for those wondering where that number comes from. But some more details. Let me bring it back up. Bring it back up. Jimmy, bring it back up. I want to see where the events are. No SC2 finals at BlizzCon. You know, maybe 2 years ago, I would have been a little sad about that. But the thing is, if you think about it, the SC2 finals at BlizzCon have been some of the most underwhelming, because we're mashing a bunch of games of only 8 players into 2 days. IM Katowice will be a full week long with 20 more players. So we'll have the opportunity, like, you know how Serral, like Maru has been dodging Serral for years now? It's unlikely he's going to be able to keep that up. All those matchups that you wanted to see, but then some Protoss knocked Maru out in the round of 8 again. Not saying anything, but like all those things you wanted to see in a 36-player tournament that probably involves significant group stages, you're going to see it. And based on last year at BlizzCon, I would not. The general Blizzard is handing off esports to the people who their job is to put on esports events. Blizzard has for a while been trending towards less of an esports company and more of a game development company. And they've always been a game development company, but esports has been a part of it. So they're supporting it via the prize pool, but they're letting the professionals take the reins. And what is there going to be? By the way, Warcraft 3 is also a pro tour. So you're into Warcraft 3? I bet Roddy is like Roddy probably already knows about this, but I'm sure he's somewhere. He might not recover. Which would be very sad because there's a lot of stuff he needs to cast. But IM Katowice 2020, Dallas 2020, Valencia, Montreal, Masters Tournament 2021, I think, that hasn't yet been announced. And it looks like, so this entire season, including IEM Katowice 2020, will work through to 2021. So for those of you in NA, Dallas and Montreal, those of you in Europe, you got Poland, Valencia's in Spain, right? And TBD, on whatever the Masters tournament other thing is. And there's Warcraft 3 as well. Oh, I'm sure Roddy's having fun. They even named a tournament after him. XD. But so the insecure, like, now we can say decisively, and I was saying it before and was still true before, but now for everyone who isn't as passionate as Roddy, who and it's very reasonable, especially as a person who likes StarCraft, to ask, like, is it really worth the investment of my time or even my attention? Because even if you're not going to play professionally or you're not really thinking about it, if it's not going to be a thing in a year, do you feel as invested spending time watching it now as if you know it's not going to be a thing in a year? You don't think it is? I think that's a really big deal, like I said, for investors and teams. It's a big deal for players who, especially those mid-tier players, like those players who, like, a great example is Clem. Clem, younger player. He hasn't had great tournament results, but he literally just beat Innovation 2-0. Like, he beat Innovation 2-0 in the qualifier we just had. A player like that, who hasn't made much money in the past, but that's a player, teams should be, I think he already has a team, but, like, that's the kind of player that, well, if we're going to have 3 years of StarCraft and this guy is beating the best, we need to snap that guy up, right? So, we'll look for the details on Korea, but StarCraft Esports will be continuing for 3 years. Blizzard shows no signs of slowing down on development of the other aspects of StarCraft 2. I expect an announcement about the Katowice war chest. I have no information, but I expect in the near future, with it coming up relatively soon. But I want to end this on a much better note. Like, and this is also for people like me. Like if I was me 5 years ago, I went full time in StarCraft 2. It's going on 6 years now. But if I had started a year ago, after 2019, I'd have to be questioning, like, is it worth my time to keep going here? Because, I don't know, maybe you're cutting into a job or something like that. But I think now, so many people are it's a lot easier to justify that investment, no matter what the investment is. So, you're out of excuses. Why are you still sitting there? Go buy my announcer, like this video, subscribe, re-download and patch, and we both know you haven't. Go try out, I've actually like Zerg Hex on the arcade. Go try out the arcade, play your 5-10 AI matches, and then get on the goddamn ladder. It's not going anywhere. No more excuses. No more bitchy Twitch chatters and Redditors and all those other friends who moved on years ago because the game was dead. It ain't going nowhere. No more excuses. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. Better video than the last one? I mean, I had no control over it. I did nothing. Oh, I didn't credit Apollo. Okay, if I cut the video here, thank you so much to Apollo, who is the face of it. Obviously, a lot of people worked on it, but Apollo, the most, honestly, essentially organizing it. For some of you might remember him from when he was a caster. But thank you to, if you happen to see this, it's not, even if you don't, but thank you very much. The passion never dies. And Warcraft 3 as well. So, the next generation of esports. Thank you for watching.